At exactly 7:42 p.m., just as the last rays of sunlight slipped behind the gas station sign, a greasy-handed mechanic knelt beside a stalled motorbike on the side of Route 27. The woman watching him barely spoke, her expensive-looking helmet tucked under her arm, her black jeans dusted from the road. "Won't take long," he muttered without looking up. He had no idea the woman standing there had a private jet waiting in the next state, or that by morning his life would never be the same. The late October wind was sharp, the kind that slipped through jackets and bit at the skin. Eli Maddox wiped sweat from his brow, his hands black with engine grease. He was 38, rough around the edges, with a permanent streak of oil under his nails and too many unpaid bills back home. His garage, Maddox Auto, barely had a working sign anymore. He lived paycheck to paycheck, though half the town owed him favors. He wasn't expecting any business today. Not this late. Not out here. So when the low rumble of a motorbike sputtered and then gave out just across the street from his shop, Eli instinctively glanced up from the open hood of a Chevy and saw her. A woman, maybe in her 30s, standing beside a sleek black Ducati, helmet in hand, her long dark hair whipped by the wind. The bike was high-end. She didn't belong around here. Her boot tapped the pavement in frustration. Eli crossed the street in 3 long strides. "Trouble?" She nodded, face unreadable. "It just died. Mid-turn. Thought it might be the throttle, but I don't know. You ride this thing or just pose with it?" he asked, flashing a crooked smile to cut the tension. To his surprise, she grinned. "Both, but mostly ride." Eli knelt beside the bike, immediately slipping into his rhythm. Tools in hand, sharp focus. For a few minutes he said nothing, just listened to the machine, felt it, fixed it. "You live around here?" she asked, arms crossed, watching him. "Since forever," he mumbled. "Not much reason to leave when your debts are nailed to the ground." She tilted her head. "You always this poetic while elbow-deep in busted engines?" He looked up, amused, only when the person asking might actually understand the joke. A soft chuckle. "I'm Ava." "Eli," he said, then leaned back and gave the starter a try. The Ducati came to life with a growl, smooth, perfect. Her jaw dropped slightly. "You fixed it?" "Simple throttle sensor. It happens." He stood, wiping his hands on an old rag. "You're good to go, no charge." She blinked. "No charge?" He shrugged. "Didn't take much. Besides, you look like you've had a long day." She stared at him a moment too long. Something behind her eyes flickered. "You don't know who I am, do you?" Eli narrowed his eyes. "Should I?" "No," she said with a slight smile. "That's exactly what I needed tonight," she offered. Her hand. He shook it. Her grip was firm, warm, controlled. "You ever need help?" he said before walking away. "You know where to find me." She stared at his retreating figure, at the flickering lights of his fading garage, the creaky door, the broken sign, and something inside her shifted. That night, Eli sat at his kitchen table, a bowl of cold soup untouched, wondering why a stranger like her had lingered so long, why her eyes had carried pain beneath all that polish. He had no idea that while he slept, her world was turning. Ava Sloan was no ordinary rider. She was the CEO of Sloan Dynamics, worth over $8 billion, and she hadn't just broken down that night. She'd been running from a betrayal that would soon pull Eli into a storm far beyond engines and small-town repairs. And when that storm hit, he wouldn't just survive it, he'd rise. The next morning, Eli was elbow-deep in the rusted underbelly of a 2004 F-150 when the rumble of a sleek black SUV pulled up outside his garage. It didn't match the rest of the vehicles in town. Too clean, too new, too out of place. Eli didn't look up at first. Folks passing through sometimes stopped for directions or needed gas. But then the door opened, and black heels clicked across the pavement. He wiped his hands and looked up. It was her, Ava, wearing a crisp pant and shirt outfit that looked tailored and powerful, navy slacks, a silk white blouse, hair neatly pulled back into a low ponytail. She looked like a woman who ran boardrooms and signed million-dollar deals before breakfast. Everything about her radiated control, except her eyes. Those eyes still carried something bruised. "You got another bike breakdown?" Eli joked, brushing grease off his hands. "Not today." She smiled, a little slower this time. "I owe you something. I told you, no charge." "I'm not here to pay you in cash," she replied. "I came to thank you properly." Eli arched a brow. "You're serious." She glanced around his rundown garage. Dusty windows, old coffee mugs on the counter, a wall calendar from 2017. "You run this alone?" "Just me. Been that way since Dad passed. It ain't much, but it's honest." Ava stepped further in, careful not to scuff her heels on an oil puddle. She wasn't repulsed, just curious. "You saved me last night. Eli, you didn't know who I was. You didn't ask. You didn't take advantage. It didn't seem like you needed saving," he said, half smiling. Ava looked down. "You'd be surprised." He caught the shift in her tone, something heavy, but he didn't press. She glanced up again, more direct. "I Googled your shop. No website, barely a listing. I had to find you through a local diner's Facebook page. Business has been quiet," Eli admitted. "They don't do the whole online thing." "I do," she said. "That's my world." He tilted his head. "What is your world?" She hesitated, then simply said, "Tech, logistics, data solutions. I own a company that builds systems bigger than this town." Eli nodded slowly. "So you're one of those billionaires who pretends to be normal on weekends?" She didn't laugh. "I'm a billionaire who got burned last week by her own fiancé," she said flatly. Eli blinked. "Damn. He embezzled millions from my firm, lied for months and vanished. I needed to clear my head. The bike, the ride, that was me trying to feel normal again." He didn't pity her. He didn't say sorry. He just stood still, and that silence, it meant more to Ava than 1,000 apologies. "I came here because you reminded me that there are still people who don't ask for anything and give everything." Eli rubbed his jaw. "You're making me sound like a preacher. I'm offering you a job." That caught him. "A job?" She nodded. "I need someone who knows machines, who doesn't lie, who doesn't buckle under pressure. Come work for me. I'll fly you out to my facility. You'd be managing a small fleet of prototype engines." Eli's first instinct was to laugh, but her face was stone serious. "I ain't never left this place," he said slowly. "I've built a life here. It's not pretty, but it's mine." She nodded again. "Then let me help rebuild it." He narrowed his eyes. "Why me?" "Because you saw me as just a person, not a walking wallet. And right now, I don't need another businessman. I need someone real." For a long moment they just stood there. The sound of a wrench clattering to the floor echoed through the garage. "I'll think about it," Eli finally said, voice low. Ava smiled for the first time, genuinely. "I'll be at the Whitmore Hotel until Friday," she said. "Take your time." As she turned and walked out, Eli felt something shift in his chest, not because of her money, not even because of the job, but because for the first time in years, someone had seen him. Eli didn't sleep that night, not because of the offer, because of the woman behind it. Her name, Ava Sloan, had come up in a quick internet search after she left, and what stared back at him through the screen was unreal. CEO of Sloan Dynamics. Forbes cover, billion-dollar equity moves, a string of luxury properties. Photos of her next to senators and celebrities, but all Eli could think about was how she looked standing in his cluttered garage, eyes soft and guarded, offering a chance that felt more human than corporate. He drove out to the Whitmore Hotel. The next day, the building towered over Main Street like it didn't belong. All glass and metal and velvet-lined lobbies. Eli's flannel shirt and dusty jeans drew stares from the front desk staff, but he ignored them. He found her at the rooftop cafe, sitting at a table with untouched coffee and papers spread around. "You always eat with contracts?" he asked, standing by the railing. Ava looked up, her eyes brightened. "Only when I don't trust people to read them." "I didn't come to sign anything," he said, sitting opposite her. "I came to talk." She pushed the folder aside. "Then talk." Eli took a breath. "You ever had someone fix something that mattered, just so you could move forward?" Ava's gaze didn't shift. "I've been fixing junk my whole life," he continued. "Engines, old motors, leaky transmissions. But I think what I really fix is the feeling of being stuck. You looked stuck when you showed up." Ava looked down. "I was. And now," he added carefully, "I think maybe you're trying to fix something too." She blinked. "You think I'm trying to fix you?" "I think you're trying to fix yourself by helping me." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Ava leaned back. "You're not wrong. I don't usually offer strangers jobs, but I've spent the last 10 years surrounded by boardroom sharks. No one I trust. No one real. Then I meet a guy who helps me without Googling my net worth. And I feel something I haven't in years." Eli stayed quiet, watching her carefully. "Safe," she whispered. That word cracked something inside both of them. "I don't know what kind of mess you're walking away from," Eli said, "but if this offer comes with drama, I don't want in." "No drama," she promised. "Just a chance to build something with someone who sees beyond money." He glanced out at the skyline, the wind tugging at his sleeves. "All right," he said, "but I do things my way." Ava smiled. "That's the only reason I asked." They started small. She brought him into a test facility in Kansas where prototype electric engines were being developed. Eli was given control of a private garage inside the center. Tools he'd never touched before. Machines that cost more than his entire town. But he treated them all the same, with respect. And quietly, Ava began showing up more often. Not in heels, not in suits, in sneakers, ponytail, sometimes grease on her cheek. They'd talk over black coffee at 6 a.m. They argued over piston designs. They laughed over stupid things like the playlist she always used while working. One morning, she stood beside him, watching as he rewired a complex ignition system. "You're not just fixing engines anymore," she said softly. "You're fixing what my company forgot to value, heart." He glanced at her, confused. She smiled. "You taught me that machines don't need to be cold. And neither do people." That night, Eli stood alone in his quarters, staring at the stars through a glass window and wondering how the hell a man like him, scraping by his whole life, ended up here. It wasn't the money, it was her. And somewhere, deep inside, he began to feel something dangerous. Hope. The days blurred into each other. Eli found himself in a rhythm he hadn't known in years. Early mornings, late nights, his hands wrapped around tools he once thought he'd never touch. Ava kept showing up too, less guarded, less CEO, more real. She asked questions about his work. She listened. She laughed, sometimes harder than he expected, but something was off. It started with small things, her sudden silences, the way her phone lit up, and she'd excuse herself, her eyes darting to the window like someone was watching. Then one evening, while tightening bolts on a new hybrid prototype, Eli spotted her sitting alone on the metal stairs of the garage. Her face was pale, lips tight. "You okay?" he asked, wiping his hands. She nodded too quickly. "Just dealing with the board." He didn't push, but hours later, he overheard her on the phone in the hallway, voice low, sharp. "No, I told. You don't move forward without me. I'm not signing off. I don't care what Derek said, he's out. This is my company. He's not taking it back." Eli paused behind the wall, heart thudding. "Derek?" When he stepped into the room, she snapped. The phone shut and turned fast. You didn't hear that? He crossed his arms. No, I heard it all. She looked down, jaw tightening. My ex, Derek, he's trying to come back for my shares. He filed a claim that I'm mentally unstable due to recent emotional distress. Are you kidding me? She looked up, eyes burning. He forged signatures. He's dragging me through court. If I lose this next hearing, I could lose the company. Eli let out a slow breath. What do you need? I don't know. Her voice cracked. A miracle. He stepped closer. You got me instead. Ava blinked. Why do you care? Eli didn't answer right away. He just stared at her. Saw all the cracks she tried so hard to hide. Because you believed in me when no one else did. Because you looked at a broke mechanic and offered him a life. And because... He hesitated. I don't want to see you fall. She blinked back tears, something breaking open in her chest. But then she straightened. He's scheduled a shareholders' emergency meeting in New York. It's a trap. I know it, but if I don't go, they'll say I've abdicated responsibility. If I do go, you're walking into a lion's den. She nodded slowly. Alone. Eli shook his head. Not if I'm standing beside you. Ava stared at him. This isn't your fight. He stepped forward, fierce now. It is if they're coming for the woman who fixed me. She swallowed hard. The next morning, they flew to New York together. First class. Eli in a suit that didn't quite fit, boots still dusty from Kansas. Ava by his side, shoulders squared, eyes stormy. As they stepped into the boardroom, Eli whispered, You sure you want to do this? Ava didn't flinch. She whispered back, Let them try me. The boardroom was colder than Eli expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan like a throne above the world. Every seat around the obsidian table was filled with sharp suits, polished shoes, and eyes that held too many secrets. Eli stood at the back, silent, watching Ava walk to the head of the table like it belonged to her. Because it did. Until Derek. Carter stepped in. He looked exactly like Eli had pictured. Manicured beard, custom-tailored navy suit, smirk carved deep into his face like it had never faded. He carried fake charm the way some men carry knives. Gentlemen, Derek said to the board, and Ava, so glad you could join us. You're not welcome here, Ava replied, her voice flat. On the contrary, Derek smiled, tapping the stack of papers in front of him. According to these, signed and notarized, you've relinquished controlling interest. Laughter snuck through the room. Eli clenched his jaw. But Ava didn't move. She opened her folder and laid out her own stack of documents. Your notarized signatures were traced. We had them analyzed by 2 forensic teams. And your accomplice, Jonathan Ward, he confessed. On record, he's facing charges as we speak. The room fell quiet. Derek's grin faltered. Nice try, Ava continued. But I'm still CEO, and you're about to be very publicly exposed. I made this company? Derek hissed. You were just the face. No, she said. I was the heart, and that's something you've never had. Behind her, Eli stepped forward, sliding a flash drive across the table. Also, we have security footage from Ava's home, showing you sneaking into her study, planting forged files. The board gasped. One member pushed his chair back. You set me up, Derek spat. No, Eli said, his voice like gravel. You exposed yourself. We just made sure the right people saw it. The vote was fast. Unanimous. Derek was out. Security was called. He was still screaming when they dragged him from the room. Later that evening, Ava and Eli stood on a balcony 20 floors up. The city glowed below like fireflies. She clutched her wine glass with trembling hands. You were right, she whispered. About what? I was trying to fix myself by helping you, but somewhere along the way, it stopped being about me. Eli stepped beside her, warm and steady. It stopped being about fixing anything. She looked up. So what is it now? He took the glass from her hand and set it aside. It's about building something new. They stood like that, for a long time. No titles, no money, no shame. Just two broken souls who met by accident and decided not to leave each other behind.